The Vorik fleet arrived without ceremony, a dark armada sliding into Earth's orbit like a shadow pulled across the sky. Their dreadnoughts blocked the sun in wide swathes, casting entire cities into sudden twilight. The Vorik didn't announce their presence gently, they projected it. Every screen, every channel, every satellite signal carried the same image, a scaled face framed in golden armor, eyes cold and reptilian. People of Sol. The alien voice boomed, translated flawlessly into every language. You are now subjects of the Vorik Empire. Submission ensures survival. Resistance ensures extinction. The message repeated for hours. Some nations responded swiftly, leaders broadcasting promises of cooperation, hoping to spare their people. Others hesitated, scrambling for answers. The Vorik didn't care. They had done this 1,000 times. A new world was only another conquest. In Washington, D.C., the American president stood at a podium flanked by flags. His response was not long, nor diplomatic. Broadcast worldwide, it was just 12 words. We don't bow. We don't break. We are not your subjects. The Vorik were accustomed to declarations of loyalty. They were not accustomed to defiance. In the command chamber of the Vorik dreadnought, High Warlord Krax leaned forward on his throne of steel and bone. They refuse? He hissed. A junior officer bowed his scaled head. Yes, High Warlord. The American tribe resists. Krax's teeth clicked together. Then we will make them kneel. Take their strongest. Break them where all can see. The rest will learn obedience. Night in the Colorado Rockies was cut short by fire from the sky. A transport vessel broke through the clouds, engines rumbling like thunder. In a remote training facility, lights flared as alarms blared. Marines scattered to positions, weapons in hand, though none had ever fought anything that wasn't human. Major John McConnell was the first through the armory door. Tall, broad-shouldered, weathered by 20 years in combat zones, his presence calmed the younger men. Lock and load, he ordered. His voice was steady, controlled. Panic had no place in his tone. The aliens came fast, metallic pods slamming into the ground, splitting open with hydraulic shrieks. Vorik warriors emerged, towering reptilian forms armored in scaled plating. Their weapons spat bolts of energy that shredded steel like paper. The Marines answered with rifles and rockets. The valley erupted in light and thunder. McConnell moved like a man who'd rehearsed the impossible. 2 Vorik fell before his rifle barked dry. He grabbed a sidearm, dropped another. But numbers told the truth. The aliens weren't here to destroy, they were here to capture. Net cannons fired, electromagnetic shackles clamped down. Marines fought until they could not. McConnell was the last to fall, pinned beneath restraints that hummed with alien power. He looked up into the slit pupil eyes of a Vorik officer. Enjoyed the fight? McConnell growled. The alien tilted its head, confused by the tone. Humans usually screamed. When McConnell woke, he was no longer in the mountains. Cold metal pressed against his back. The chamber around him was vast, its walls curved and alive with strange symbols. Shackles pinned his wrists and ankles to a slab angled toward a high throne. Cracks descended the steps, each clawed foot striking like a drumbeat. The High Warlord was immense, over 9 feet tall, his scales dark as obsidian, his armor traced with gold. His gaze swept over McConnell with a predator's certainty. You are fragile, Cracks said. His translator rendered the words in perfect English, deep and resonant. Bones brittle. Flesh soft. Prey. McConnell met his gaze without flinching. Funny, he said, voice dry. Prey usually runs. A low hiss rippled through the chamber, alien officers murmuring among themselves. Few had ever been spoken to that way. Cracks leaned closer, his breath hot and metallic. Your world bends. Your leaders kneel. You will kneel too. McConnell's lips pulled into a humorless smile. You must not know us very well. The warlord's eyes narrowed. You will learn your place. You will scream before I am finished with you. Maybe, McConnell said, shrugging against the restraints. But I promise I'll laugh first. The Vorik guards shifted uneasily. They had seen Prey beg, sob, collapse. They had never seen Prey grin at the jaws of their conqueror. A scientist stepped forward, scales pale and slick with unease. He held a scanning device that hovered red light across McConnell's face. "High Warlord," he said cautiously. "Observe the eyes. Forward facing. Not prey orientation. A predator's trait." Crack snorted, dismissive. "A scavenger's trick. They have teeth, yes. They scavenge, they fight among themselves. But against us, they are nothing." McConnell chuckled, low and sharp. "If you really believe that," he said, "you wouldn't need chains." The words hit like a slap. The guards glanced at one another, uncertain. Crack bared his fangs, towering taller, shadow blotting out the human's form. Yet the man's eyes did not waver. "Your people will be displayed to the galaxy," Crax declared. "Their resistance will break in public view. Your defiance will become my trophy." "Sounds like you're worried," McConnell replied. The silence that followed stretched long, broken only by the hum of alien machinery. Crack stared into human eyes that didn't dart away, didn't widen in fear. The predator had expected prey. Instead, he found something staring back at him. Finally, Crack straightened. His tail lashed once, a whip crack across the metal floor. "Very well," he said, voice low and seething. "We shall see if you laugh when the flesh is torn from your bones." McConnell's grin widened, sharp as a blade. "You'll have to catch me first." The guards dragged him from the chamber. The human's footsteps echoed across the deck, not stumbling, not dragged, but steady. Watching him go, one Vorik officer whispered what others dared not. "They don't look like prey." That night, aboard the Voriktel dreadnought, High Warlord Crack stared at the earth below. Its lights glittered against the dark, like countless eyes staring back. He clenched a claw around the railing. So be it, he thought. If they claim to be predators, then I will break them as I have broken all predators before. But somewhere deep in his mind, a whisper lingered, gnawing at certainty. The human had not begged. He had not feared. He had smiled. And predators smiled. The cell was dark, metallic, and humming with unseen machinery. Major John McConnell sat against the wall, wrists bound by glowing cuffs that hummed every time he tested them. Across the chamber, 5 of his men, Marines taken with him, occupied similar restraints. Their faces were bruised, but their eyes burned steady. "Roll call," McConnell said. Voices answered one by one. Sergeant Diaz. Corporal Harris. Private Kellen. Each alive, each unbroken. When the last man spoke, McConnell nodded. "Then we're not done yet." Diaz smirked despite a split lip. "You planning to walk out of here, sir?" "Not walk," McConnell said. "Run them in circles until they're dizzy. Then we leave." The Marines chuckled. The sound was wrong for prisoners. It wasn't despair, it was defiance. Hours later, Vorik guards came. Tall, armored figures entered with an air of certainty, as if this was routine. They unshackled one man at a time, dragging them into a chamber that reeked of scorched metal and burned ozone. The Marines knew what it was, a testing room. McConnell was taken last. He was strapped upright to a frame while machinery whirred around him. Needles of light pressed into his skin, not burning but probing, measuring endurance. Cracks appeared on a balcony overhead, flanked by his scientists. His voice echoed down. "All prey breaks. Some swiftly, some slow. Show me how long your kind lasts." The device crackled. Energy rippled across McConnell's body. Muscles locked, vision blurred. He bit down hard, tasting blood. One Vorik guard leaned close, waiting for a scream. McConnell opened his eyes, smirked through clenched teeth, and said, "You tickle worse than my ex-wife." The guard recoiled. Crack's tail lashed the floor in irritation. "You mock?" "I live," McConnell replied. "Big difference." The energy surged again. He grunted, sweat pouring, but the words still came. "That all you got?" Cracks turned to his scientists, demanding answers. One, scales pale, said carefully, Their tolerance is abnormal. Most species would collapse. Abnormal, Cracks hissed. No. Dangerous. When McConnell was returned to the cell, the others saw the burns across his arms, the exhaustion in his shoulders. He dropped against the wall, breathing hard. You good, sir? Harris asked. Still here, McConnell muttered. Then, after a moment, they think we're prey. Kellen frowned. They're not acting like it. Why all this testing? Because, McConnell said, eyes narrowing, we don't fit their playbook. And that scares them more than we realize. Diaz leaned forward. So what's the move? McConnell flexed his wrists against the cuffs again, feeling the faint vibration. We watch. We learn. Then we hunt. The men exchanged looks. They had been trained for battlefields, not alien cages, but the principle remained. Marines didn't sit and die. Marines adapted. The next test came sooner than expected. 2 guards dragged Harris out. He returned an hour later with bruises across his ribs, but smiling faintly. They tried fear games, he said. Darkness, noise, fake executions. I laughed. They didn't like it. Good, McConnell said. Keep it up. Each Marine endured their turn. Each came back scarred, but unbroken. The Vorik grew restless. Whispers passed among the guards in their guttural tongue, words McConnell didn't know but understood well enough. Unease. On the 3rd day, opportunity struck. One guard grew careless, standing too close while reactivating restraints. McConnell lunged, snapping his head forward. Skull met snout with a crunch. The Vorik staggered back, hissing in shock. In that heartbeat, McConnell snatched the alien's wrist device with bound hands, twisting until it sparked. His cuffs fell open. The guard roared, but McConnell slammed him into the wall, teeth bared. No! McConnell barked. His men surged, wrestling their own guards as confusion spread. Chains became weapons, restraints became garrotes. In less than a minute, the Vorik squad lay broken on the cell floor. Breathing hard, McConnell studied the corridor beyond the open door. The ship was vast, unfamiliar, but alive with sound. He turned to his men. Silent and fast, he ordered. We're not escaping, we're hunting. They moved through the corridors like ghosts. The Marines scavenged weapons from fallen guards, alien rifles heavy but workable. The lighting flickered as McConnell triggered the stolen wrist device again, disrupting local systems. The Vorik reacted with growing alarm. Alarms shrieked, soldiers poured through halls, but they weren't chasing prey anymore, they were being stalked. At one intersection, Diaz whispered, They're panicking. McConnell crouched behind cover, watching armored figures fan out. Good, he said. Fear makes them sloppy. The Marines struck hard, ambushing patrols in silence. Quick bursts of fire, blades through armor gaps, throats cut in the dark. The Vorik were warriors, but they weren't used to being prey. Every shadow felt alive. One alien shouted, voice breaking. They hunt us! The words spread faster than orders. Whole squads hesitated before entering corridors. Doors slammed shut behind them. The dreadnought, built as a weapon of domination, became a labyrinth of terror. Eventually, the alarm brought Cracks himself. He stood at the head of a corridor, towering over his men, eyes burning with fury. The floor was littered with Vorik corpses, guards cut down in their own halls. Show yourself, human! He roared. His voice rattled the steel walls. From the darkness, McConnell stepped forward, rifle leveled. Blood streaked his face, alien and human. His eyes locked on Cracks without hesitation. You wanted an example, McConnell said. His voice was cold, steady. Here it is. For the first time, silence followed. The Vorik soldiers behind their warlord shifted uneasily. Their commander had called for prey. What stood before them was something else entirely. McConnell raised the stolen wrist device, pressed a button. Lights across the corridor flickered and died. Shadows swallowed the Vorik. The Marines melted back into darkness, voices low and calm. Now we hunt. The dreadnought trembled as sabotage spread. Systems glitched, engines strained. Vorik commanders shouted orders, but none silenced the growing fear among their ranks. Krax stood unmoving, claws flexing, teeth grinding. His prey refused to die, refused to bow, refused even to run. Instead, they hunted. And the Vorik had no word for prey that hunted. The Vorik-tailed dreadnought groaned like a wounded beast. Lights flickered, alarms wailed, and corridors stank of smoke and scorched metal. Marines moved through the chaos with grim efficiency, striking quick, vanishing faster. Vorik squads found bodies of their comrades gutted in shadows, rifles missing, throats slit clean. Fear spread like a contagion. In the command chamber, High Warlord Krax stood before a star map of Earth. His claws dug deep furrows into the metal railing. Reports arrived in panicked bursts. Human captives loose. Systems sabotaged. Casualties mounting. Enough! Krax roared, his tail cracking against the floor. The chamber fell silent, though none dared meet his eyes. He snarled low, voice dripping with disbelief. Prey does not stalk its hunters. Yet it did. Deep in the engineering sector, McConnell crouched with Diaz and Harris over a glowing console. The wrist device stolen from the guard allowed crude access. Lines of alien script scrolled past. Harris tapped keys, sweat streaking his face. Sir, I can't read half of this, he muttered. Doesn't matter, McConnell said. Just find engines and weapons. Break them both. Harris hesitated. What about escape? McConnell glanced around the humming chamber, then back at his men. Escape isn't the mission. Survival is. Survival means teaching them never to come back. Diaz grinned despite exhaustion. So we don't run? We hunt, McConnell replied. Moments later, the dreadnought shuddered. A core relay blew, engines dropping into a stuttering crawl. Across the ship, Vorik officers shouted orders, trying to keep the vessel stable. The hunters had struck again. Krax took personal command of the pursuit. His massive frame moved down corridors lined with his finest warriors. He could feel their unease, their movements too quick, eyes darting to shadows. Steady, he growled. They are only flesh. Break them and this farce ends. But then the lights died. The corridor plunged into darkness. A voice carried from the shadows, calm and cold. Flesh bleeds. So does scale. Gunfire erupted. Marines struck from above, rappelling through service shafts, cutting through Vorik ranks before disappearing again. Krax slashed his claws, felling 2 humans, but more struck from other angles. The hallway became chaos, aliens roaring, men shouting, weapons flashing in blackness. When silence returned, half the Vorik squad lay still. The rest trembled in place, weapons shaking. Krax inhaled deeply. For the first time in decades, he tasted something new on the air. Not fear, his prey's fear. His soldiers' fear. The humans regrouped in a storage bay. Kellen, youngest of the squad, dragged a Vorik corpse into shadows, breathing hard. They're terrified of us, he said in disbelief. They should be, McConnell answered. He crouched, checking his rifle. His eyes were sharp, alive with a predator's calm. Terror is a weapon. Use it, Diaz asked quietly. How far we take this, Major? McConnell looked toward the glowing command deck high above, where Krax's throne chamber waited. His jaw tightened. We finish it. The Marines infiltrated the command spire under cover of smoke and alarms. Vorik soldiers fell one by one, ambushed before they could regroup. Whispers spread among survivors. The humans are everywhere. At the top of the spire, the throne chamber doors boomed open. McConnell stepped inside, weapon in hand, his men fanned at his back. Krax rose slowly from his seat, massive and coiled with rage. You! The warlord growled. Enough games. Face me. McConnell lowered his rifle deliberately, letting it clatter to the floor. That's what I came for. The duel began in silence. Krax lunged, claws slicing air. McConnell rolled aside, striking with brutal efficiency, military precision against alien ferocity. Fist met scale, blade met armor. Crack's strength was monstrous, each blow capable of breaking bone, but McConnell's speed kept him alive. The Marines circled, weapons raised, but McConnell barked. "Stand down." "He's mine!" Crack's bared fangs. "Fool! You cannot match me!" McConnell spat blood, wiped his mouth. "You keep saying that, but here I am." The warlord struck again. McConnell dodged, drove a stolen blade deep into Crack's side. The alien roared, blood spilling black and smoking. The sound rattled the chamber. "You bleed," McConnell said coldly. "Guess that makes you pray too." Crack staggered but did not fall. He swung wildly, tail smashing through pillars, voice thundering. "You will die!" McConnell closed in, strikes precise, relentless. He fought not as prey but as predator, each move aimed to wound, exhaust, break. At last, Crack dropped to one knee, snarling, his golden armor cracked, black blood dripping. McConnell stepped back, chest heaving, knife still in hand. "Kill me, and another Marine takes my place. Kill him, another after that. You'll never break us." Crack's eyes burned with fury, but also, finally, with doubt. McConnell turned to a nearby console. With a stolen code, he triggered the comms system. The Vorik fleet, the conquered worlds, every listening species received the broadcast. The image filled the galaxy, a bloodied human standing over the kneeling warlord. McConnell's voice carried steady and unbroken. "We are not prey. We don't kneel. We don't run. We fight. And if you come for Earth again, you'd better bring a lot more ships." Gasps rippled across conquered worlds, shocked through the Vorik fleet. Soldiers watching their invincible leader humbled whispered to one another, fear creeping into their ranks. The transmission cut. Cracks, still kneeling, hissed through clenched teeth. "This is not finished." McConnell stepped close, blade hovering near the warlord's throat. His eyes were cold steel. "No. It just started." He pulled back, signaling his men. Together, they vanished into the smoke and wreckage, leaving Cracks alive, but shattered. Hours later, the Vorik fleet withdrew from orbit. Earth's cities watched as the Armada slipped back into the void, their promise of conquest broken. Humanity had not surrendered. In the Rocky Mountains, survivors regrouped at battered bases. Across the planet, people whispered the story, how a handful of Marines turned a dreadnought into a hunting ground. Among the Vorik, a new phrase spread in hushed voices: "Humans are predators." And whispered softer still: "Americans are apex predators." McConnell stood with his men on a ridge overlooking the valley where they'd been taken. Smoke curled from distant forests where alien fire had struck. His face was lined, tired but unbowed. "They'll be back," Diaz said. "Yeah," McConnell answered, eyes fixed on the horizon. "And we'll be ready." Kellen asked quietly. "Sir, why us? Why Americans?" McConnell thought for a long moment, then shrugged. "Because somebody had to stand up first. And we don't bow." The men fell silent, watching the sky. Above them, the stars burned bright, no longer symbols of conquest, but of promise. McConnell smiled faintly, voice low but certain. "Welcome to Earth. Home of the apex predators."